Hi guys, welcome to day 39 of Scout Lockdown. Today we're going to learn route planning. I hope you've been looking at the map reading we've been doing and how to read a map and your compass work and your grid references. Check those days out. I'll list them on the top of this post. So today's route planning. Route planning is really important because you have to be able to write the route and then follow the route plan. So have a look. I hope you enjoy. Have a go at home if you can. If you've got a map, write a simple route plan and see what you can do at home. Thank you for watching. So today we're going to learn about route planning. Now route planning is very important because a route plan is your route that you're going to walk on your hike. So if you're planning a hike for yourself or for other people, then you need to write out a route plan, and that needs to go to various people. And the route plan, if you remember day 30 when we did map reading in Scout Lockdown, is getting from here to here, but for the whole hike. So your route plan is just the instructions to get from one point to the next point to the next point to the next. So let's see how we do that. So this is one way of doing a route plan. So there's lots of different types of route plans, and this is my personal favourite because it's quite clear. So my personal favourite to teach the scouts anyway. So this is the grid reference. So that's the grid from and to, and then the bearing you take, and then the description. So we start in the car park and we're going to follow the road, and then some notes. So single file, walk on the right, because we should always walk on the right of roads with our faces towards traffic, so people can see us. The people can't see the back of our faces if the back of the head's in the way. So in the dark, they're more likely to see your face than your back of the head. So this is basically bite-sized bits. So this is probably the same distance from our little map we just saw, but put into small bite-sized grid reference. And you'll notice that grid reference there, is the same as that grid reference there, because we're walking from that one to that one, and then that one to that one. And this should take approximately 1 hour, and it's a 2 mile stretch. So that is one type of route plan. So this is another example of a route plan. So this is what I like to call a story route plan. It's probably my least favourite, but it is still a route plan. Now this is more descriptive. It explains a lot more, but it is a story fashion. So if you can see, you have to read it like a story. And this is very good because it does give you a lot of information, but it also relies on people reading it properly. And what tends to happen is, what I found with my scouts, is scouts are reading down here thinking they're following this bit, when in fact on the hike they are actually still on sentence 1 and they haven't even got to the gates yet. So they are down here reading this thinking they're here because they've passed the hedge and they've done the fork and everything, but they're not actually there at all. They're still up here, and they've got a long way to go. You can see here that the time here should be about 30 minutes, and it's a stretch of 1 mile. So I base my route plans on scouts which are walking, and I think that scouts should walk around 2 miles per hour. You know, if they're going a lot uphill, they're going to be slower. If they're going a lot downhill, they may be a bit quicker, but roughly about 2 miles per hour. So that's how this has worked out. So this is another example of the route plan, and yes, all these route plans I'm showing you are from the same hike. I like to give the scouts different route plans on each section, so they can learn different ways of writing a route plan and different ways of following a route plan, just in case someone else gives them a route plan. So this is the same hike, And as you can see, this one is still a bit of a story, but there's a grid reference and then instructions and a grid reference. So we're still talking a larger area there. It's not like the first route plan that was broken down quite small. This is still quite a large area, but it's still broken down. So we can check again, and we can check that one to that one, and we can check that one to that one. But unlike the story one, it's a bit easier to follow because we'll know if we haven't got to this grid reference yet, because we can work it out on the map and do this bit. So that should take around 1 hour, and it's about 1¼ mile. So that's route plan example 3. So this is route plan example 4, and it's the last bit of my hike. There are other ways of doing route plans, but these are the 4 that I tend to use, or the 4 that the My Scouts are normally found using. This is very similar to the last one, however it's even more broken down. So we've got a lot more grid references, and it's less of a story fashion and more just bullet points. So a little bit easier from the last one because there's less of a story fashion, it's more of a bullet point, and this is more of a step-by-step guide. So very easy if you've already walked the route to write one of these, because you'll know the step-by-step guide, you'll know where the turnings are and where everything is. And this is a nice easy one to follow because it's just a simple instruction guide. You may not even need the map for this one, just follow the instructions. Always have the map, always check the map, check again. So let's show you how to write a route plan. So this is my route plan. This is the one I asked my scouts to fill out, and then it's a nice simple route plan. It's a nice simple layout. We're going to have a closer look. So there's the route plan. So along the top you've got the start point, and you've got the date that you're going to be doing it, because you would submit this in advance. You've got your main break time roughly. You've got the map you're using, and that's really important to make sure that you note the map you're using. And you've got the finish time, so the expected finish time you're going to finish. Then over here you've got the grid from. So this is based on sample 1 that I showed you just now. So we've got the grid reference from, and 2, the bearing, the description of route, notes, and time. And at the bottom here we've got emergency grid reference, emergency point, description of route, and notes. So the emergency grid reference and emergency points is when you're planning a route, you should always have a location where you would evacuate to should the need arise. So if you're walking a route and suddenly there's a big thunderstorm and you get soaking wet and you think to yourself, right, that's it, we're not going to be doing this, we're going to go home. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to inform people that you're going? Is it going to be the bus stop so you can catch the bus home? Is it going to be the car park where you can meet parents? Is it going to be somewhere like a scout hut where you can take shelter? Where is your point of, I'm going to give up, we're going to go there? And it should be roughly around the middle of the route, or you could have several ones depending where you are in the route. But where is the point that you're going to go to and go, this is it, we're going to give up, we're going to go to the nearest point here and be collected there. That doesn't mean that will be the collection point. There's other, you can change that during the time. You may find that a closer car park is a better evacuation point, but this is the rough one, so you can tell people we're giving up, we're going here. So let's fill this in. So the most important thing to remember before you fill this in is keeping your map north. So if you haven't walked the route, then you're doing this off the map. If you have walked the route, then you may be able to fill in a bit more, but you need to keep your map facing north. Remember day 30 when we did map reading? So we'll keep your map north, and then we're going to find the start point, and then write the start point in there. So the start grid reference is. So you can see here that we are going to start at this grid reference here, and that is a car park, and then that grid reference again, same one. So this grid reference is follow the road, keep to the right. So this grid reference again goes here, and then this is the next grid reference, and that's take a right at the crossroads, follow track uphill. We know it's uphill from our contours on day 2. Then we know that it's uphill, so, and I've walked this route, so it's potholes and rough ground. So again, that drops down to there, and to the next one. Follow footpath on left through field. Now, even if I haven't walked this, I know for the footpath and fields will probably mean it's rough under feet. So rough under feet, and I put closed gates behind you. Remember, in your country code. And then you can see that we've gone up to the car park, and the car park is the finish line. So that is a basic route plan. So how do we do the bearings? Well, hopefully you've looked at the compass work we did, and you've learnt all about using the compass. Well, doing a bearing on a map is slightly different from a bearing in your hand. Check out day 8 when we did the compass work. So I'll show you now how to do a compass on a map. So we first have to set our map to north. So if you remember, we're going to put the compass against the blue line. We're going to turn the map so the red needle is back on the end. So the map has to be facing north, otherwise none of your bearings are going to be right. So when we did bearings the other day on day 8, we had it in our hand and we pointed the compass, the directional arrow, if we remember, towards the item we're going to. Well, that's the same on the map. So in the middle of the needle, you've got the circle. Well, if we're on this crossroads here, can you see the crossroads? So if we're on this crossroads here, we're going to put the middle of the needle on the crossroads. Now if we're going to go this way, we're going to point the directional arrow that way along there, and then we're going to turn the dial so N is back on the red needle. So we've got the middle of the compass on the point on the crossroads, the directional arrow following the road in the direction we're going, and that's why you can see through a compass. So you can see the map through the compass, so you can still see the direction you're going. Because obviously the road wiggles, so that it may not line up with the directional arrow, but you know it's lined up through there. And then the bearing on the top, in this case is 60 degrees, is the bearing of the road. So if you're at crossroads, the bearing would be 60 degrees for the road we want to follow. So again, if we're going from this bit down here, and we're on this road here, and we're going to follow this footpath up, again make sure your map is facing north, put the middle of the compass on that crossroad there, directional arrow following the road there, and again turn the dial so the N is on the red needle. Just let that settle again, and once the N is on the red needle, we would be walking on a bearing of 330 degrees. Now we need to fill out the time. So the time is also important, so we know roughly what time we're going to be there. This can be easily worked out in your map. Remember to work out roughly how long you're going to be walking. Remember, you should be walking at the pace of the slowest person. So the slowest person in your team should be at the front, and that may change. If you're doing a night hike, then just because they're the youngest doesn't mean they're going to be the slowest. The oldest one may have had double PE in the day, so they may actually get slower during the night because they've been up all day and they've been playing rugby or something. So the slowest person should be at the front, and that may change throughout the hike, the slowest person, but you know roughly what speed we should be walking at. And I said earlier on, for scouts, I plan for my scouts to walk about 2 miles per hour. Let's find out how we work out the time. So the map actually tells you loads of different things, and we haven't even touched on all the things that the map can tell you. But if we remember we did the grid references the other day, well, this map has got those magical invisible lines already lined up for you. But the bit I want to focus on is this bit here, which is called the scale. So this is done in kilometers and miles. And when we were working out the time, if you remember, I budget my scouts, or work out my scouts are going to work on average 2 miles per hour. So I can work this out, because it's hard to work out it through the road, with a bit of string. So if we put the string down on the 0 mark of the mile, and mark the string there for 0, and then mark it on 1 mile, or kilometers if you prefer kilometers, and then we can move that along and mark it again on 1 mile. And if you can go along here, you can see there's 2 miles there and 3 miles there. And if we mark the string, then if we wanted to go from this crossroads here, hopefully you can see that, to this crossroads there, to this point up here, then the road may be wiggly, but if we put our red dot on there and then follow the string up the road and keep going all the way up, little wiggle there, and then maybe we want to go that way, so we can go this way, and we're going to finish in that farm there. So we are finished there. That's how far we finished. So all we have to do is now count the dots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half. So we're going to be walking 5.5 miles. And that's a nice, quick, easy way to work out the distance. And then we can work out our times, because if we're working 5.5 hours, we know it's 2 miles. 2 miles per hour. So we know 1, 2 is going to be 1 hour. 3, 4 is going to be 2 hours. So it'll be 2.5 hours to walk that section. And you can work that out in kilometers or miles. I worked it out in miles because my route plans were done in miles. Have a go at home, see if you can do it. So we've now done our route plan. We've got our route plan finished. We've got the bearings in and we've got the times in. Remember, if you've pre-walked the route and you're writing this up after you walk the route, then your bearings will be more accurate, because you would have stopped and done them there and then on the turnings and on the crossroads. And your timings may also be more accurate. Remember, if you're an adult, then scouts are smaller, so the legs are smaller. So just plan that in. But there is another side. This is a double-sided sheet of paper, so I'm going to show you the other side of the route plan. So this is the second page of the route plan. This is the back of the route plan, and it has more general information on. So your group name, your patrol name or team name, your patrol leader, the PL, the APL, the assistant patrol leader, and your patrol, and the contact telephone number. So that could be your home parents' phone number or contact pickup number. Your in touch person or home contact. Now this is very important. A home contact or in touch person is someone who has the information. We will come to that in a minute. And if there's an emergency on the event, then the home contact or the in touch will get hold of your parents and inform them, well, you're able and free to deal with the emergency. Vice versa, if there's a problem at home and your parents can phone the in touch person or the home contact, and they can contact you and inform you if needed. So that's important, and there's 2 numbers for them. Transport to and from an emergency transport. How are you going to get there? How are you going to get back from your collection points and drop-off points? And what's the plan if there's an emergency? Are you going to get parents to come out and find you, or are you going to catch a bus or train or something back? Weather, if you can, always worth writing down the weather. If you've watched the weather forecast the night before, the day or the morning of your event, always worth knowing roughly what the weather's going to bring you, and any notes, anything you need. And then over here, if you're doing an expedition, you may have the different stages of your hike or written down. So you'd have a different sheet for every day or every section, but this would be an overall summary. So who do the route plans go to? Well, it's really important that you have a route plan, at least 2 copies, if not more. So if you lose one or one blows away, you've got one there. So it's really important that you know your route and you know where you are. Your scout leaders should also have a copy of your route plan, because they're your scout leaders. Even if they're not with you, they should have a copy of your route plan. If a leader is with you or supervising you somewhere along the journey, they should have a route plan. If they're driving from one base to another, they should have a route plan. If you're doing a scouting event, you should submit one to district, so DC or your ADC or someone, just so they are aware that the scouts out and about in the district and your rough plan. Your home contact needs a copy of your route plan, and anybody else who you think is in need of a route plan. So if you're doing a big expedition, maybe your parents will do it. The whole idea of a route plan is so if you go missing, we know roughly where you are. So we know at this time, on this sort of location, so we know the location because you're giving us a route plan, and we know roughly how fast you're walking because you're giving us the time. We know roughly where you'll be, so we can send the search parties to those areas because that's where you're likely to be. And if you're not there, we can then span out from there because we know roughly where you're going to be. And that's why it's important to try to stick to the route plan as much as possible. Now, I always have a saying with my scouts, my scouts can't get lost. They're not allowed to get lost. They can go on an exploration, they can explore a local area, they can detour, they can check out a new path, they can have sightseeing expedition. A lot of them go sightseeing a lot, but they never get lost, because if you're lost, you truly don't know where you are. And if you know where you are, you're not lost. You just need to rethink and replan and go back and check again. So don't get lost. Go sightseeing, go exploring, but don't get lost. But try to stick to your route plan as much as possible, because everybody's going to be thinking that you're around there. And if you're ahead of time, if you're very fast in time, then it may be worth checking in to say you're ahead of time. And if you're really behind time, again, it may be worth checking in with your home contact, your in touch person, to make sure they know you're behind time, so they can contact people and let them know. And that is a route plan. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a go at home, write your own route plan, and hopefully when this is all over, you can go out and walk it. Hope you enjoyed. Stay home, stay safe.